Famous Gemara in Brachos, Lamed Daled Amud Beis. You've heard it. Rabbi Abauz teaches Makom Shabali Tshuva Omdim Tzadikim Gmorim Enam Omdim. So we know the place where a Baal Tshuva who's made complete Tshuva, where they stand, even the most complete Tzadikim cannot stand in the same place. So we've heard this before, but it doesn't really make any sense. I mean, Balei Tshuva are kind of gross, and they have all these humiliating pasts. And from birth, the FFB, the Tzadikim, they're shiny and perfect. So how does this make any sense to us? In this week's Parsha, Rambam actually discusses the Paraduma, and he brings a very interesting comment on the third Mishnah and the third parak of Para that talks about the Paraduma. He says that there's no halachic advantage of a person who's never become Tameh versus the same person who was Tameh his entire life and then immersed in a mikveh, had the water of the Paraduma sprinkled on him in the third and the seventh day. And actually he adds the one who was impure all of his life and then became pure through the water, the Paraduma, he actually is a higher level of Tahara. How come? Because the pasuk in this week's Parsha testifies that he specifically is Tahor. It says, you can look it up in the 12th pasuk of the 19th parak, it says, Uvayom Hashvi Yitar, he becomes pure. So think about that. Read it again, right? Rambam is saying that a person who's never been exposed to impurity can't be considered genuinely purified, even though we'd think of him as on the highest level, right? To be tahor, based on this, a person would have had to experience a state of of impurity. Now, we don't willingly go into such a state, don't get any ideas, but the implications are very, very earth-shattering. Now, Rambam, on this, he takes up this machlokus in the Gemara that we quoted earlier, Gemara in Brachos, and actually, it's interesting, we really should not paskin like Rabbi Abahu. There's another opinion cited in Rabbi Yochanan, and the halacha usually follows Rabbi Yochanan. He says like this, all the prophets prophesied future reward, and with regard to the Balei Tshuva, it's true they're going to get rewarded, but for the perfect tzaddikim, there's an even greater reward that awaits them. So in theory, we should be on the side of the FFB versus the BT. But consistent with the above, the Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva, the 7th parak, 4th halacha, he says, like Rabbi Abahu, he says, the Baal Tshuva should not imagine that he's far from the spiritual advantage of tzaddikim because of the sins he committed. He says, it's not true. He's beloved and cherished before Hashem, as if he never sinned at all. In fact, his reward is even greater since he experienced the taste of sin, abandoned it, subjugated his Yetzer Hara. And Chazal teach us, exactly like it quotes Rabbi Abahu, that in the place where the Balei Tshuva are destined to stand, it's so high that even the perfect tzaddikim can't reach there. Now, this is hard to understand, but we're blessed we have a Sefer Hasidim who puts it in perspective. He says it like this. In the Sefer Hasidim, one of the later Balei Tosfos, explains that if a person's Yetzer Hara is inciting him to rebel, not to do a mitzvah, to go against his creator, and then he conquers it, he gets 100 times the reward when he does a mitzvah than when he does a mitzvah without struggling with his Yetzer Hara. It's like frequent flyer mileage, right? The more friction there is, the more you travel, the more you have to struggle, the more you cash in when you get the frequent flyer miles. Natural tzaddikim don't have to struggle as much with the incitements of the Yetzer Hara, and then you have the Baal Tshuva who's waging war sometimes constantly, and therefore the Baal Tshuva gives greater nachas to his creator. He says, this is the lashon of the Sefer Hasidim, I'm not making it up. He says we should actually rejoice when the Yetzer Hara puts us through the ringer. We're going to get more reward than the perfect tzaddikim, and actually give greater satisfaction to Hashem. Think about it. The next time Yetzer Hara starts up with you and makes you feel weak and worthless, the opposite's true. When you rise up to it and you conquer it, you realize this is what a Kadosh Baruch Hu put us in the world for, and we get the ultimate reward. A good Shabbos.